early game. But there we are. We are live. It is the live before lock NFL wildcard weekend Sunday. This is our only wildcard Sunday show today for the NFL. So it's an exclusive. Am I correct with that assessment? Editor-in-Chief Nolan Kelly.
You're correct.
Oh, goodness gracious. Considering I was
there or what?
I was up until 1 last night sweating out some basketball, some NHL, some NFL, and they all apexed and then went back a little bit. Yesterday was a busy day. I had to meet with a tax guy, getting a little audit action here, apparently non-DFS related of all things. But somebody screwed up in their reporting of my income. They reported my gross amount, not the net amount. Come on, Morgan Smith Barney. The hell are you doing?
You got to get some of your money out of those offshore accounts, man.
Yes, indeed. Well, I'd like to go visit it there in the Bahamas. Or what? The Caymans. I guess it would be in the Caymans. But here we are, sponsored by Yahoo, who likes to do things the clean way, the family-friendly way. Now available in Florida and Canada. It is Yahoo Fantasy Sports. If you guys have not yet signed up for Yahoo, you're definitely going to want to do that. You can do so by going to the bottom of any of our NFL Primetime articles or any of the daily Cash Building Blocks NBA articles. That one will be out shortly. But if you go to that bottom section there, you're going to get a link, a promo code, and wait for it, instructions on how you can claim up to $30 with your initial DFS deposit bonus over there on Yahoo Fantasy Sports. It should be a good one today, Nolan. I'm wearing a shirt. I'm sad you didn't notice the shirt. I'll hold it up a little bit more there for you.
Oh, well, I mean, I wore my 90s shirt, but we're on a bye this week, so.
Oh yes. Well, I think it was a lucky victory for the Niners on Sunday night.
We're lucky to be in that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that was just kind of a weird one, but I'm disappointed yesterday, devastated actually, that the Patriots lost. Hence, from this Super Bowl shirt, which I never get those sorts of things, but my mom and dad gave it to me because they were like, you never asked for presents, so we're just getting you something. Here you go. So and then they didn't run Marshawn Lynch. So this was lining up perfectly. Brady leads the Patriots back to the Super Bowl. Marshawn Lynch unexpectedly out of retirement. All of a sudden, we have a do-over here. That's what I was rooting for.
I see where your head is at there. Yeah, those two teams are far too terrible to make it back to the Super Bowl, Mac. That was a victory.
Oh, yes. Well, but the one fun thing is it's like the end of, I can't remember, the catastrophic horror movie with, it wasn't even a horror movie with, what's his name? I think Jonah Hill was in it, and it's like called like This Is the End or something like that. It was this big spoof.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
At the very end, I've only had it on in the background, but at the very end, they like go to heaven and they're all excited. And it's like anything you can imagine. And then anything you can imagine. And then they have this Backstreet Boys scene. Well, I was like, you know what? I'm imagining Tom Brady and Marshawn Lynch squaring off again in the Super Bowl. And we didn't even make it out of the first day of the NFL playoffs. But there we are.
You're not wrong.
Very sad. Very sad. All right. So just not to worry, chat. We've got 2 games. We've got plenty of time. I'm just collecting some people. Some of our viewers are coming in here, so not to fear. We're definitely going to break these things down. We'll go game by game. And this is kind of interesting. So in a quick review of yesterday, in my 4-game slates, I did not have a single share of Travis Henry. Ouch.
Derrick Henry?
Derrick, I'm sorry, Derrick. I didn't have Travis Henry either.
Half brother Travis.
I was gonna say one of his 9 kids finally made it to the NFL. I did not have Derrick Henry, which is amazing because I went back and looked when he was doing quite well. I was like, why is my winnings not going up? I've got to have him somewhere. No, 900 lineups, and I did not have him in a single one. Very sad. So I have a lot of, and so I'm just talking about this 4-gamer because I've got to do some pivots here. So I have 70% Dallas Goedert, and we now know that Zach Ertz is available to play. We'll talk about that one. And then I have, I can't think of their backup tight end. I have like 20% of him. He's 2,900 on DK.
But Perkins?
Perkins, yes. I was trying Josh Perkins. I was thinking of Jeremy Sprinkle. I'm like, I think that was a Seahawks tight end at some point there. But yeah, some guy I really never heard of. Now I don't know that I want to play him. I'm still okay with Goddard, but now Goddard is this massive leverage play for me against what Derrick Henry did yesterday. So I've got to figure out what I want to do here. So I'll be playing around a little bit with that. I think I'm going to put in some Zach Ertz just as a super duper leverage, because I'm guessing a lot of people were like me and just took him out of the player pool for yesterday.
I think if you have the money, you go up to Ertz. If you didn't have Derrick Henry, just get up to Ertz as much as you possibly can, because the ownership's going to be a lot less. You know, the cost savings, I think it was like 600 difference between the two of them. There's 200 difference between the two of them today, and there was more yesterday. So getting as much Ertz as possible would probably be a good move.
Oh, good. Now chat's fired up. How did I not have any Derrick Henry? Let me explain this to you, because this is what happened. So yesterday I was meeting with my tax guy. Then all of a sudden it was time to take my wife to the airport, and then I got home and I hadn't fully run my crunches I got home at 4:15. And I think what was like a 4:35 kickoff. So I had 20 minutes to set up Saturday slate, Sunday slate, and the first showdown slate. So I was in scramble mode. Now I got the mix and everything I wanted. I just did not realize that I had literally zero Henry. I had built my Saturday lineups first. I had him, I think, for like 56% of my lineups, or 59%, which ended up being like right around where the field was. And then the last one I did was my 4-game slates, and I was more worried about what I was doing at the quarterbacks, the game stacks, etc. And I had just erroneously assumed, it'll take care of itself when I have the group set up for the game stacks. And it didn't, because his point per dollar wasn't there, and I just didn't happen to catch it. So that was kind of interesting. The other, DFS give it, DFS take it away. My Saturday cash game, I got into 2 head-to-heads, 2 single entries, and 1 other contest. I tied 4-way tie for first out in this dollar single entry 1,500 person contest. I got second in the $2,500 single entry contest. I won both of my head to heads, but I didn't have time to enter in a bunch of games. So this is one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to beat myself up over it or be mad. But my whole thing was not to go away from Henry. I thought he was a nice contrarian play, wrote him up in the one article piece that I did. I just didn't get to it. That's what happens when you have a scramble.
Yep.
This helps us understand, and this is sort of our DFS strategy show, and then we'll get game analysis. This is lessons learned for this week, absolutely repeatable for next week. We have 4 games spread over 2 days. If you are on the late swap sites, you can do all sorts of optimization based upon what is going on with your teams, with your results. If you're going sideways, you're going to want to be aggressive in these. You just are. And you may be playing suboptimal plays, but from a leverage and ownership standpoint, you're getting a better shot at things. This will teach me also as well to double check this stuff, because that wasn't fun. And if I had just double checked after game 1, I would have realized, I don't have any Derrick Henry. Could have completely fixed the issue. I didn't go back and do that. So that was just lessons learned. And I think this is something very important that we as a DFS touting industry, and I hate that word, I prefer analysis or analytics. We don't talk about that stuff a lot. I stub my toe all the time. When Noel and I were talking pre-show, my ROI on these shows is about a quarter of what it is when I'm not on shows. So it's not great. And let me think about it. I'm on shows Dr. Lock, both football Saturday and Monday, or Sunday and Monday, and then 3 days a week for NBA. Yikes! What could my ROI be if I didn't do shows, Nolan?
You'd be a millionaire, man. You'd have even more tax issues.
I'd have that island next to Osimo, the one that he bought.
Did he buy an island? Probably, right?
I'm sure he does. Come on.
Yeah.
He's the number 1 ranked DFS player in the world. But you know what he has done? Promo code 2020 will get you guys 20 days of complete access to all Osimo content for $20. That's going to last until January 10th, but if you use the promo code 2020, boom, you get that now. You also get Slack. You have unfettered access 24/7 to one Adam Ship My Money share. Secondly, we've got the promo code $200 off an annual subscription if you use the promo code New Year. And now that everybody's pants are in a bunch, we're going to say, I said pants because I know there's not very many women watching. So pants. And ladies, I would have said panties, but that would be very sexist. But your pants are in a bunch. Let's talk here. What do we got, Nolan? Game 1.
Yeah.
We've got Minnesota. We've got an unimaginative offense, but we have massive game breaker Stephon Diggs. On the other side, we have New Orleans. Defense has been pretty good. no longer the Coors. I mean, unless they're playing the 49ers or Atlanta or whatever, no longer the Coors Field of DFS there for NFL. But their defense has definitely shored itself up. You've got Dalvin Cook, who sat out the last two games that he sat out resting. He should be back and good to go. I believe in like every game this season, or like his last 14 or something like that, he has at least a touchdown or 100 combined yards. Guy's having an outstanding season. He's active in the receiving and running game. Then what else do we have? Alvin Kamara only scored in 3 games this year. They were all multi-touchdown games. 2 of them came in the last 2 weeks of the season. That's got to feel better. And then you have Michael Thomas, who locked in to my cash games because I'm playing just on the full PPR sides. I don't want to miss out on that, but he's 9,300 on DK. So you've got a lot of question marks here. Let's start off with how you're approaching Minnesota today.
Well, there's a few. It's a pretty concentrated offense now that Adam Thielen is back. I think that the pass offense in this, even though they're implied for a slate low 21 points, they're still pretty cheap. And one of the things that I've always liked about stacking Minnesota is you're pretty confident about where that ball is going to go. So you can stack Kirk Cousins with an Adam Thielen and a Stephon Diggs. You have a concentrated stack with a huge number of the targets going both of their ways. Bring it back with some Saints, and you're not getting a lot of ownership as well. The Saints are also without Eli Apple, it looks like today. So Janoris Jenkins, who is one of the worst corners in the league, will probably be starting for them. So that's maybe a little bit weaker secondary. This is a tough matchup, but it's also like it's one of these games that I think could shoot out. And if the Saints are able to put up points, then Minnesota is going to have to pass the ball. And I actually kind of like Cousins and this stack, and I'm surprised it's not getting much ownership given their price points.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one here. The one thing with if they can get Minnesota out of their comfort zone or slightly playing from behind, which you would like to think that's where the probable game script is going, and they're forcing Minnesota to go to the air, there's a lot of PPR points available. Thielen providing an amazing wrinkle here. He's been out and even when he was in, was not having a good season. We saw both he and Stephon Diggs complain about the lack of passing attempts in the offense, or in particular targets to them, but just the passing in general. The coaches are like, yeah, I don't care. This is what we're doing. We're gonna go this route with things. So it's just been an interesting season when you compare it to last season and the season before. With what that duo was doing. I mean, those guys were like 1,000-yard blocks and just PPR monsters, and both in the top 10 in receptions, and just phenomenal. But it didn't happen this year. Variety,
much love as well. Just we haven't projected for just 20% ownership, 20 to 25 across the industry, and like he led in week 16. These guys sat out in week 17, but in week 16, his first game back, he led the Vikings with a 96% snap count. No, sorry, he was back in week 15. But 96% snap count, which would lead me to believe that he's fully healthy and going to be an integral part of this offense moving forward. And people are probably scared off about the lack of production. But, we're not that far removed from this being a pretty epic and pretty concentrated passing offense that's won a lot of people some GPPs. So I know the matchup's tough, but I kind of like it, and I kind of like where the ownership's at.
Indeed, and that's today more than ever, or this weekend, or these types of slates more than ever. It's leverage. This is like a showdown slate on steroids, right? When you've got these two gamers with all of that the money and all of the eyes on it right now.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let's talk a little bit. Let me just put this in the channel. Let's talk a little bit here about the New Orleans side.
Sure.
Very, very concentrated offense. You've got Michael Thomas, led the league in receptions, set the all-time record. That was, I think, since 2002. Marvin Harrison, I believe. I know it was Marvin Harrison. I think it was 2002. That's a record that lasted a bleeping long time when you consider how much the NFL has changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how impressive Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison were back in the day. He led the league in yards, 300 more than the next closest guy. Julio played one game less than him. Godwin, I think, was like 300 or 400 back. He played 3 less games or whatever it was, but he had 1,700 receiving yards. That's pretty good. And then I'm going off the top of my head, I think he had like 8 or 9 touchdowns, so that was pretty solid as well. So he's just absolutely phenomenal. I don't know how you go away from him in the full PPR. I don't see anybody else on the slate that can put up that kind of points unless it's off of multiple touchdowns. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, Kamara could obviously get those like 3 touchdowns or whatever. He could have another one of those games. Definitely the highest upside. I don't think there's any debate. He does force you to make some decisions. We're talking Michael Thomas here.
Yeah, and this is kind of the trickle-down effect. Okay, now we've got him. Great. Shoot, I don't really like the rest of my lineup today when I'm playing him.
It's tough, right? Yeah. So like as soon as you put him in, and like you can fit some pieces in there, but you've got to go down and find some bargain options. And like there are a few, the Philly wide receivers, which we will get to, I think are a good option. And then there are a couple others. Like I really like Tre'Quan Smith today. I think like people have caught on to the fact that he was going a little bit under owned in this 4-game slate, and his ownership is back up on these 2 gamers. So he's basically taken the wide receiver two duties away from Ted Ginn Jr. over the past half of the season, and is running the second most routes on the team, or second or third, depending on the week, with Jared Cook. And then Jared Cook actually has a really tough matchup this today. He's probably going to be going up against Anthony Harris a lot. Anthony Harris, free safety, 548 coverage snaps, targeted 17 times, and only allowed 11 completions for 156 yards. Minnesota number 1 against in DVOA against opposing tight ends. So I think like if you're going to go with Thomas, you get some savings by pairing him up with Tre'Quan Smith. I don't mind fading Jared Cook if he's going to get ownership at that. And then just, if you pepper in, there are no cheap running backs either, I think, that are very good. So you kind of got to pepper in either a cheap flyer tight end like Irv Smith, or maybe one of these cheap Eagles receivers. But of course, everyone's going to be doing that. So,
chat, just for fun, I just put 5 $1 games out there, head to heads on DK for the single game slate. Come get them. You see what I'm doing right now. So here's your advantage. They're saying, how did you not check your lineups when your wife wasn't home? Well, I was writing an NBA article and then did an NBA show with Fast City Fear. By the way, just messaged him because DraftKings is at 6 o'clock tonight for their lock. We will be doing NBA Live before lock at 5 o'clock. So you'll get a full hour featuring Fast Eddie for that one. So, I'm running around doing a ton of other things besides worrying about my lineups. Had a very nice night in the old NHL. That's one of our best things we have here at Awesemo. Is the NHL projections. They are phenomenal. I was on a little bit of a gully, as they say, for a couple days, and then the last couple slates, 2x straight across. So very nice. That's always fun to have there. The way I play is lower dollar stuff. So any day, if I'm getting 20 or 30% return, I feel that's a good day. So doubling up is a very nice day. And then you get those occasional 5x, 6x days, especially if you hit one of the low dollar winner take alls, which is very, very nice. So those are some fun ways to do stuff. NHL, very much like MLB, you got a lot more variance in it.
Yep.
Football, very projectable. I don't like to play the winner take alls. Same thing with basketball. Don't like to play them. I think it's a waste of money because your lineups are, if you get it, you're still probably going to split with somebody for a winner take all. That's no fun. So I don't really do that format. But today, I've got a bunch of 3-mans. I put some head-to-heads out there, and then I'm playing some single entry. I've got the tiers contest going on. I haven't set that lineup yet. I got a lot of lineups I haven't set yet. Well, that's fun. So back to the Saints here. If you're trickling down, we know in the red zone they really like to go to their tight ends. It doesn't matter which one. So do you like Josh Hill at all as a deep dart throw?
Yeah, I'm not usually in on those kind of plays. I think, I don't know, maybe it's just the inner Awesemo voice in my head. But like the guy hasn't had more than, he said 5, not including that week 17 blowout. He's only had more than 10 DK points once, or PPR points once this year. So I can't say that those are the kind of plays that I will be making. Also, I think like Zach Ertz at lower ownership than he probably should be at 5,400 just seems like a pretty good bargain at the tight end position today. So not going to have much Josh Hill, no.
So let's talk about Zach Ertz for a second. I'm still afraid to play him. The guy's got a rib injury that's somehow poking, touching.
You don't have to be afraid because you can just late swap over to Goddard, and he becomes an even better play, right?
So, well, I'm thinking in game injury. That's what I'm worried about. Oh, he's going to be active. Oh, he's going to take the field. Is it 5 snaps? Is it 5 targets? Is it 10 targets? I don't know. It's anything's in play here with him.
A kidney, broken ribs, not a big deal.
Well,
you're right. Like, there's some risk there for sure. And you're more than welcome. I think, like, if you want to fade him, that's for those reasons. That's definitely in play. If you do believe that that's going to happen, I mean, you can just mix it up with Goddard and Ertz, right? Because Goddard becomes, if Ertz is ineffective, then Goddard becomes a great play. If you've got the nuts and you want to play it safe, you can switch out to Goddard. Like, there are lots of ways to approach this that you can kind of get the best of both worlds and sort of benefit from whichever way this scenario goes. And I think even like 2 tight end stack is in play as well if you really want to get creative here, because I don't think that's going to be very popular.
All right. Let's see. Let's talk about a little bit about the Seahawks side here. So last week, Russell Wilson, again, they should have beat that 49ers. Come on. So here's my thing. Forget that I'm trying to tease you and it's the 49ers and all that. How do we have instant replay or booth reviews, all this stuff, and they F it up so many times?
I was a few cocktails deep at that point.
The Seahawks had plenty of other reasons why they should have not been where they were in that game, but it was just a blatant pass interference on the 49ers. Now the Seahawks screwed it up 6 ways to Sunday the other ways, but they didn't even go to the review of it. And you're just sitting there going, oh my God, Al and Chris have it up almost instantaneously. Why the hell are they not the ones just doing the review? Because the central office, and not just this game, so many other games they've mucked it up or reversed things they shouldn't have. They have to apologize at least once a week for screwing something up. Either just let the refs do it on the field or fix this thing.
All you really need, I think, is a ref in the booth. Like, I've been saying this for years. Like, they have it in cricket, they have it in rugby. You just have an actual ref, looking at the footage in real time, communicating with the ref on the field. It's really not that hard. You could speed up the games. You could, you don't need to review stuff. You just simply have communication. It's like they're stuck in 1990 or something, and not making use of all this technology. And don't get me started on ball spotting, because that's another one where it's just like, oh, let's put it right here. Like, put a microchip in the ball or something.
Yeah, well, exactly. Let's put it here, and then bring these chains out and get, oh my God, it was 2 links short. It's like, yeah, the ref was plus or minus 6 inches every time they set that ball down. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, anyway, get off my lawn. Glad you're joining me here, Nolan. Glad you're joining me. So Russell Wilson, 40 attempts, 8 carries. We know that the ball's going to have to be in his hands today. That's just, it's the way it is. And even when I went back and looked at that, because all game, and I did the write-up for the Showdown slate last week, I was like, I'm wearing a freaking Seahawks jersey. I've been a fan since day one, literally, because I was like in 2nd grade when they came out in 1977, but there we are. I am your old pal Emac in some aspects. You've got Wilson. Who the hell is he throwing it to? Because Lockett has disappeared. They've got Malik Turner's out. So you've got David Moore. Tight end number 4, I guess, is up, who was inactive for the first few weeks. Now, they did use some draft capital to trade for him, Jacob Hollister, and he's been rather solid. Each of the last 4 seasons, over a quarter of Russell Wilson's touchdowns have gone to tight ends, so he will go to them in the red zone. No more Doug Baldwin. Almost wish they would have brought him back for this game, sort of things. But yeah, are we going to DK Metcalfe? Do we trust Lockett? What do we want to do? Travis Homer, I do like. 4th string running back, undrafted, or probably 6th round pick out of Miami, looked great last week. And then Marshawn, I'm getting off the couch. Lynch, I'm not tailgating today because I'm playing, is in the picture. I was expecting a pulled hamstring for him last week. I think maybe he'll see half the snaps. He will get the red zone and leverage snaps, but how much does he have in the tank? Nolan, it was a hell of a story, but he did not look great out of there outside of that 1 touchdown where, hey, it was beast mode all over again.
Yeah. I don't know why they kept him on the bench, but I don't know. I guess like they'll get their snaps. It's going to be like a split backfield, so I'm not super excited about playing much of it, though. Lynch is popping a little bit in our projections, and probably the likely to get a goal line carry or 2 if they're in that area. I mean, I think like if you look back at the past 3 weeks, it's DK Metcalfe, It's Tyler Lockett and it's Jacob Hollister. Hollister 95 receiving routes run over the past 3 weeks. Meet Metcalfe number 1 and Lockett number 2 on the team, all in the top 6 on this slate. So it's kind of it's a pretty concentrated offense at the end of the day. Like, the Seahawks always do weird stuff and have weird gadget plays, and their running backs are going to be alternating in and out for sure. But from the passing perspective, like, I don't really have any problem alternating Russell Wilson with two of these guys and just kind of seeing what happens. Like Hollister, they all have pretty good matchups. This Eagles secondary isn't great. The only real concern I have for stacking up this Seattle side is just they're going to have real trouble winning the trenches battle, I think. And they have, the Eagles defensive line is excellent. The Seattle offensive line hasn't been great. So there's a lot of the greatest discrepancies in this game are in the trenches on both sides of it. So I think maybe you could see a scenario where Wilson's forced to scramble a little bit more and maybe has a little bit less time to pass. But again, that's offset by the Eagles secondary. So it's kind of like, damned if you're due, damned if you don't. But one thing I will say, wrap this up though, we do have the Seahawks stack projected as the greatest value in terms of ownership today. We have them projected for 24% ownership, the Wilson-led stack, compared to a 33% chance of being the top stack on the day. So, just from that perspective in GPPs, you're probably your best play is the Seahawks stack today.
I would definitely agree on that one. And that's not being it is being biased because, hey, go Seahawks.
Boston Scott, you got a unique lineup.
Well, and that's kind of another question I have is who's to say it's not Boston Scott today? Yeah.
He's my favorite leverage play today, I think, because there's a chance he gets nothing, right? There's a chance that Sanders and Howard resume their normal roles as like a 1-2 punch. Maybe Howard's being phased out. I don't know. But there's also a chance that they've caught lightning in a bottle with Boston Scott, and they really like what they've seen, and he will be involved. And he is ownership-wise, it's a pay up to be contrarian spot. He's expensive, but he is getting no ownership. He's getting about 5% ownership. So if you have a really chalky lineup and you like a lot of guys and you just want to pop in a Boston Scott, that's going to go a very long way in differentiating yourself from the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, I'm looking at I'm trying to do some late swap optimization. This is kind of fun. So shout out, thank you, Fantasy Cruncher. I believe you have to say that every time you mention the product. Best product out there, and you can get it in concert here with the Osmo packages. It's something that we are offering in conjunction with them, and I have loved it. I've been using it this is my 4th NFL season utilizing it, and it has just been a tremendous advantage for me as I have reinvented the way I am playing my game. You can also get a Fantasy Cruncher Lite, little free plug for Dave and Allie and Manny and CJ over there, but you can get Fantasy Cruncher Lite through them. It allows you to crunch 20 lineups, but that's something that's very, very helpful, even if you're hand building, especially if you're bouncing between sites, because you can often overlook good plays. I like to utilize it a lot when I do Yahoo. I've used the Yahoo upload, I think 3 times ever thus far, but I still use Fantasy Cruncher to build the lineups. Now I definitely will for baseball, I'll use the upload, but what I've really like to do is just figure out, okay, if I lock in these players, what happens next? All right, I like this guy better than this guy. I'm going to uncheck this guy. I'm going to lock this guy in. What happens now? And I'm going to set these rules. What does it pull in? Because their pricing over there on Yahoo is entirely different than any other site, and it's something that you need to understand to fully access, and they don't get a lot of content from the other sites, Yahoo specific. So it's something that's very helpful here. We, of course, have the projections for it. In the Cash Building Blocks article, I have a little section where I call the Yahoo Discount Dandies. It's they're $10. Not all $10 players are created equal, as I like to say. There are some that are much better than others. So you want to take a look at that. Same thing goes for football, but we've been doing the Baller article for them every week, and we'll continue to do so through the Super Bowl. But it's a fun site to play on over there, and they do have the late swap, so that is fine as well. Let's see. If you were picking one or the other amongst the running backs for Seattle today, there are 2, because I'm not counting Robert Turbin. Is it, if you were building one lineup, is it Homer or is it Lynch? if you had
I
to
think it.
pick.
I think it's Lynch, but I'm just gonna I don't really have.
I'm picking Homer, so this is a fun little thing. So why is it Lynch for you?
Just because our projections like him more. That's
Okay.
it. That's
no, and that's totally fair.
34 yards last game. So I mean, I don't know. Like it was his first game back. Travis Homer, what did he have? 10 carries, 62 yards. Was more involved in the passing game as well, though. So
caught all 5 targets.
I really don't have a feel for this, but I think we do have Lynch projected for a slightly higher total than Homer as well. Homer's price. What's Homer's price point? It might just be that. Where is he here? Just pull him up. Travis Homer is 52 and Lynch is 51 on DK. So yeah, pretty close price points across the industry here. But I guess if you get a price discrepancy between the two of them, then go for the cheaper one. But what about you?
For me, it's going to be it's Homer, and I think he will get more overall snaps. I was rather impressed with watching what he was doing from the backfield for his receiving, and in this, I'm clearly not a trained NFL scout, nor do I pretend to be, but I was impressed with how he was coming in and overall coming in and picking up the blitz and also knowing when to release. And 2 of his 5 catches for sure were when he saw there was no blitz or saw the zone blitz was coming from the other way, so he leaked out to the side, wide open, boom, picks up 8 or 9 yards till the defensive backs can go over there and get to him. So I thought that was pretty impressive for a guy who was playing his third on game snaps in a NFL environment. I thought that was pretty solid for there. So I'm leaning towards him, and I'm worried about Lynch's lower body, soft tissue, leg pulling something, hamstring, groin, calf, whatever. So I'm hoping they kind of just, as a Seahawks fan, I'm hoping they kind of baby Lynch a little bit and just keep him in for the high leverage stuff from that standpoint. If they get down, I think it's going to have to be Homer in there.
I've actually noticed a little discrepancy in our projections here. I'm seeing on the site, we have Homer projected for 12.2 PPR points, and we have Lynch projected for just 8, but it's showing up differently in Fantasy Cruncher. So I'm just going to contact the powers that be right now and see what's going on with that. So give me a minute. Let me make sure we got everything sorted here.
Not a problem there. So for those of you scoring at home, I am putting in a fair amount of Mr. Zach Ertz here now, because I'm doing this on air. I want to be a little more careful than I have been, because all of a sudden I don't really want 30% Zach Ertz, but let's go for about 20 here and just see what happens. But this will be a fun way to get stuff done. I'm a little scared, as they like to say, but we'll see. So let me put this in, and then I'll tell you guys what my new upload is overall with my 901 lineups that do not have a single share of Derrick Henry. That was an oversight on my part, but doesn't mean I'm dead in the water, because at least I didn't pick anybody that got a 0 yet. Let me see here. Let's download this. This is the fun thing. I wish some of the sites had a better dashboard so you could get a read on what you have with your percentages and looking at lineups, etc. To me, it's just they've got a bunch of numbers nerds here, and then they don't get us hooked in by having the good stuff. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll put in my DK into Fantasy Cruncher, look at the old late swaptimizer, because it'll do a player percentage count, and it gives you a good look of where you are, because I don't really always build my lineups on with one file. I usually do multiple ones, especially with basketball, because I'm doing different game stacks and stuff with my last 10% of my lineups, etc., etc. So drum roll, please. I'm going 63% Alvin Kamara. I'm going 61% Michael Thomas. I had 52% Mohamed Sanu. I had 52% Devin Singletary. I'm down from 70% to 50% of Dallas Goedert. I now have 20% of Zach Ertz. I still have 25% of Josh Perkins. I'm okay with that, mainly because he's super duper cheap. And at this point, I don't have that many outs, because a lot of the lineups I had were game stacks. So we've already had 4 of the quarterbacks go. I centralized my game stacks around the quarterback. half my lineups already, and I take 3 or 4 players from that game, half my lineups just don't have any wiggle room, or it's like I'm not going to leave $3,000 on the table. It just doesn't feel right. So what I will do is just I'll just be fine with taking that kind of stuff. But that's where I am with my heavy action here. Are you leaning? Who is your most owned player for today? Either leftover from the 4-game slate or on the 2-gamer.
Well, that's a good question. I think it's probably going to be one of the running backs. It's going to be like Cook or Kamara. I think my philosophy tends to be to pay up at running back more often than not, just because those, there's such a discrepancy between them and the other running backs on the slate. 2 bell cow backs, even though there is some negative correlation between playing opposing running backs. So those are going to be the 2 guys that I lean to as well. You're getting a bit of a discount on some of the other top plays on the slate. And then I like Michael Thomas a lot, but it changes all of your lineups when you put him in, and you have to find bargains elsewhere. So those would be my 3 main guys. I don't think that's catching anyone by surprise. But I am having some builds where I target this Saints passing attack and leave off Kamara and Thomas, or leave off one of those 2, and then kind of put in some of these ancillary pieces for the Saints offense. We saw that work on Thanksgiving, right, where Thomas dudded on a 3-gamer and he was the most owned player on the slate. So that kind of thing can happen, and just make sure that you kind of have some pivots away if you're going super chalky in a lot of builds. Also, we're just sorting out our projections right now. It looks like possibly we had the wrong projections uploaded to Fantasy Crunchers. So those, if you crunched already, just be aware of that. Just double check. We're looking into the issue now, but if you want to, you can just copy those projections over from the Osmo site as well.
All right. Looking at the Seahawks here. Well, let's hit Philly really quickly. So Greg Ward, kind of the only guy I'm really looking at as a receiver. Ton of Goddard, as I've mentioned, so I'm way overloaded on him. Put in a little bit of Zach Ertz. For the Seahawks side here, I prefer DK Metcalfe. Just for the savings, we know Lockett is awesome. He's amazing, and he disappears. I don't understand why, but Russell Wilson is going to take the open guy. He's not going to force feed anybody. If you were choosing, and then you've got Hollister, to me is kind of a little bit of an afterthought there. I would actually prefer any of the Eagles tight ends over Hollister today. So we'll have to see. Perhaps that's subconsciously me not being happy with him being 6 inches short yesterday or last Sunday. Between our teams today, who is your top quarterback? For me, I wanted to play more Russell Wilson. I'm getting more Drew Brees. I think it's a function of I'm pairing Brees with Thomas as one of my main rules, and I'm trying to get as much Thomas as I can. Foolish or not? What do you think?
Sorry, what was the question?
Who is your favorite quarterback from the 2 games today?
And
this is percentage-wise. So for me, it looks like it's about almost half to 60% Brees. It's about 20% Wilson, and then it's remnants of the other 2.
I'm going to say, based on ownership, I kind of like, and price point and receivers, I kind of like Carson Wentz a little bit. I mean, it's pretty hard to go away from Drew Brees in a dome. He's going to be the top projected quarterback, of course, but he's also getting the most ownership. Right. So I want to pivot in large GPPs. I think it's Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins. And the thing I like about Wentz is you have a few options to get creative for your builds as well. So you can go like 2 tight ends or another guy that we haven't mentioned yet as well, who's actually getting some ownership, and it's kind of put me off of him a little bit. Which wide receivers led the Eagles in snaps last week?
Oh God, you're gonna tell me it's JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Robert Davis.
Who?
96% snap count last week. He's getting about 15% ownership. He's I think 3rd-year player out of like Eastern Georgia Sunbelt Conference. Got some really nice spark stats though. You know, he's got some elite he runs a 4.40. He's pretty big. 5th most routes in the Eagles over the past 3 weeks, and he's near the bare min. So these are one of the guys that if you can kind of pepper into your lineup at near the bare min. And he may do something. I don't know. He hasn't done anything with that opportunity thus far. But that's kind of where I'm at with that one. I don't hate the Robert Davis flyer. I'm a little bit concerned that his ownership is up to like 15% though.
All right. I don't think we hit this one up. Super chat here from Anthony Ruiz. Apologies, Anthony. I had paused my chat and then I closed that window. He says, great content every day. Thank you. We appreciate that. DK, would you go with Dallas Goedert and Perkins or Dallas Goedert and Hollister? Thank you in advance.
Goddard and Hollister, I think. Like you're if you're taking Perkins, you're hoping that Ertz doesn't play.
Correct.
So that's where that scenario comes out. But I think Hollister in a vacuum is a better play for
sure. So and based on what I just said, where I said I prefer all the Eagles tight ends over Hollister, if you are playing both of them, you are better off taking Goddard and Hollister. Here's why. The Eagles touchdowns can only go to one tight end. If there are Seahawks touchdowns and Eagles touchdowns, potentially you get both of them. That would be why I would go with one from each side in that one. Does that make sense, Nolan? You seemed a little confused. No.
No, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this of why.
Yes, multi-task.
All this Marshawn Lynch, and we don't have Marshawn Lynch projected for that much, so it's not making sense to me.
All right. We'll do a few more questions and then we'll kind of cruise on out of here. So chat, go ahead and put them in here. I'm just going to scroll back and see if anybody asks questions. We talked a little bit about Wentz. Metcalfe or Thielen? That's actually a good one. I'm going to go with Metcalfe myself. Just haven't seen enough from Thielen, and even though their propensity is going to be to run the ball, hey, so is Seattle. Seattle doesn't have the running backs to really accomplish that goal as much anymore. Minnesota has Dalvin Cook, and they've got Madison still. So I think I would go with Metcalfe just as a little bit better touchdown equity, in my opinion.
Yeah, weaker secondary, better matchup. I think it's probably a little bit lower ownership, a little bit better price point. But yeah, definitely some big playability there, right? Like we've seen it with Metcalfe before. So yeah, I don't know. Both are great plays. I think I'm not super fussed on one over the other. Just depends on your lineup construction.
All right, favorite showdown captain for me in the first game, it is Irv Smith.
Whoa.
Well, tell me if you like this lineup. Irv Smith, Drew Brees, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, and Dan Bailey. Yeah, I'll put Irv Smith in the captain spot there. It's risky as F trying to get... That's a potential 0 in my captain spot. But, the rest of that lineup looks pretty good.
That's it. But all you really need out of him is like a touchdown catch, right? So maybe it'll end up paying off. I haven't had a lot of success putting in... I think like on the whole, you're better off not putting punts into your captain spot. If we look back at what's won this year over the past 20 or 50 or whatever showdown slates, very rarely is it a punt play in your captain spot that takes it down. But I certainly understand the appeal of those lineups, and I've had a few of them myself over the years. ZMAC, it's really hard to get away when you can get fit 5 great guys in your lineup because you punted at captain, right?
Yeah, a guy got stars in my eyes. No, I'm not playing very many lineups. Full disclosure there. For the afternoon game, it's definitely Russell Wilson. He's gonna have to. Everything's gonna have to go through him. If we look at the Eagles, I don't know who it's going to go through. They've got 2 adequate running backs in that. Boston Scott could get touchdowns. You would think that Sanders could get more of the yardage. You've got, I'm blanking on his name. Howard is floating around there. You've got multiple tight ends. You've got Ward. None of them really stand out head and shoulders above each other. I would probably go Ertz captain if he didn't have a lacerated kidney. But he does, so I don't want to go there. So I'm looking at Russell Wilson.
I like it. Yeah. I think that's probably, and then you don't have to worry too much about pairing them. I think there's still like a little bit of rushing upside there. There's a lot of different ways you can play that captain spot in that one. There's a lot of moving parts in that game, right? And yeah, I think if Ertz is out, Goddard makes an amazing captain choice. If he's in, then maybe a little bit less so. Though I think you could differentiate by going with Wentz and 2 tight ends. You could throw in. I'm guessing that. Davis is pretty cheap in that one, so that's another option for you, but he'll probably be pretty highly owned.
All right, uploading my Showdown is uploaded. Uploaded my 4-game slate contests are re-uploaded. That means I just have the 2 gamers and the tiers.
If you're right now, I don't know if you're a premium member, just manually upload the projections from the site. I don't think they're uploaded right now. I'm not. We're just trying to get to the bottom of it. But if you've already crunched, you might need to copy that over and re-crunch there.
All right, and then a couple fun free things because we still have 20 minutes left here before lock. I'm going to drop in Adam Pfeiffer's matchups article. Of course, the 2 for today are going to work just nicely for you. People are like, oh, you guys didn't put any new content up today. You know what? How about the content that was up yesterday for the 2 games that haven't played yet? You can probably look at those write-ups because I bet they haven't changed. And then free content today is I think it is the Showdown Projections. Let me open that up. That is for the night game. Yep, those are free today. So this is for the Eagles game. I keep saying the night game, but it's the 4:30 game. So I'll drop those in there, and then I get people saying, "Oh, I didn't get to play your head-to-heads." So I'm putting 5 more $1 head-to-heads out there on DraftKings here. Obviously, I probably should build that lineup. I already have that lineup built. I am playing Russell Wilson in it, so you guys will want to, if you want to leverage against me, you can change that. I also have Homer in it. Michael Thomas.
I got another little sleeper here as well, possibly.
Okay.
I don't know if he's getting much traction, but David Moore saw a season high in snaps last week. 2 targets each of the last 2 weeks. I feel like he almost got a touchdown last week or something, didn't he? Or like he did something, and it was like, oh, David Moore last year. But big play upside, touchdown upside, definitely worth, I think, sprinkling with the lineups.
All right. Let me see here if there's any other quick questions we can get before we can go fix our stuff real quick. Oh, that's funny. No more. Yes, that was a nice little pun there. I do like Moore. I think he's reasonable, especially with Malik Turner out. So good call out there. I will make sure I get him on my lineup. Fade Thomas, sure. If you absolutely want leverage going against the bulk of the field today, that would be the way to do it immediately, would be to not have Michael Thomas. I think I'm going the other route and trying to go over the field on that one. Let's see. Ertz got cleared for contact and will suit up and play today. Yes, he will. Always could have an in-game injury. Bang that. I'm sure he'll have some sort of flak jacket on or something. Ertz is a go. Ertz could also very well be a decoy today, guys. That's the thing that you're not. Hey, I hope he's okay and I hope he plays, but he very well could be a decoy today. We never know. So half people will be right, half people will be wrong. Sorry, Kyle Ziegler. I wanted to get this one for you. Thank you for putting that in there again. Adam Thielen or Greg Ward FanDuel today. We'll kind of wrap it up with that one. We got 2 more. We'll wrap it up with that one in the next one.
What's the price point?
I'm going to assume Thielen is more. I don't. That's not fair, but let me.
Got Thielen for 60. Oh wait, let's stick it up here.
Trying to get into a contest super quick here.
Thielen, is that FanDuel again? Yeah, okay.
All right, what do we got? We have, drum roll, please. Thielen and Ward are $300 separated. Thielen for 62, Ward for 59. Other players around there that you would be looking at would be Metcalfe at 66. He probably can't get to him if he's asking that question. He could go down to Traquan Smith. So assuming he doesn't have Smith, and you were ranking Thielen, Ward, and Traquan Smith, where
I'd go just in that order.
Okay. I think that's probably fair as well. I'm not really a fan of, I'm not a believer in touchdown upside there for Ward, but I do like him on the full PPR sites. I think I still have to give the nod to Thielen, but that's barely.
I'm calling it, man. It's Thielen day to day. It's happening.
Okay. We're looking forward to that. And then the last one, Rudolph or Irv Smith. There is only one answer here.
Or Irv Smith.
It's Irv Smith.
It's Irv Smith, yeah, because Rudolph's about $1,000 more expensive on most sites. So running about the same amount of routes and the same amount of snap counts. So Irv Smith projects out pretty well if you need a bargain. I think the 2 bargain tight ends that we've got today, it's Perkins assuming Ertz is a decoy and or like it gets injured and can't really play, and Herb Smith Jr. Those are your two top options near the bare man at tight end.
All right, there we go. With that, we're sliding on out of here so we can fix our stuff. You guys have about 10 minutes until lock. We'll be around in Slack. We will at 5 o'clock today. There will be an NBA DFS strategy show. I think FanDuel is locking with the next game after that, but DraftKings is locking with the 6 o'clock game. So you'll get Fast Eddie Fear featured there, breaking down the 4-game slate. We've got hockey going off at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. We've got projections, Alex's rankings, line rankings, etc. for those. And then reminder, promo code 2020 get you 20 days of awesome, all access premium content for $20. You're insane if you are not using that. And then promo code New Year, not New Year's, New Year, all one word, gets you $200 off a full annual subscription. That also ends on the 10th. These are two of the best promotions we've ever run. They will end on the 10th. There will not be another sweetheart deal coming after them, probably until baseball, I would guess. Sorry, I had to hit the cough button there. Last question for Premium Slack, and we're logging off here at Nolan. This is like the Armenian goodbye. We've said it 18 times, but it was a good one here. And so let me scroll down here because I want to give some love to the Premium Chat, especially after Premium Chat was nice to me yesterday. If you were fading Kamara, would Latavius Murray be your pivot?
I don't think like that's a must, but I like Latavius Murray just because of the ownership, I think. And like, it's one of those situations where you're kind of hoping he snags a goal line carry or two, maybe busts one off. The other scenario, I think, that Latavius Murray goes off and could possibly win a GPP for someone is if the Saints blow out the Vikings. We saw him get 17 carries last week against the Carolina Panthers in that blowout. So if that kind of game script, I think you'd be more likely to see him rush for more. But certainly, like he hasn't been super involved in this offense. But I don't hate the call because we've seen him put up some pretty big performances earlier when Kamara was out.
Well, and you're not going to say it, don't you think he has an old Vikings jersey in his closet somewhere?
Oh, the revenge narrative, I like it. Yeah, I mean, we love those revenge narratives. Hey, you better take care of that shirt. Hey, that's going to be the last one you get for a long time. So maybe put it in a frame or something.
Oh, painful. All right, that's fair. With that, gamers, good luck.